Most people think they watched K-pop Demon Hunters. But what if I told you, you didn't actually see it? You saw the story, the battles, the music, the dramatic moments, but you missed the psychology hiding underneath. You missed the mistakes that reveal more about you than about the characters. And if you pay attention now, you may feel something uncomfortable awakening inside you. Because these mistakes aren't just storytelling errors. They are mirrors. And the more you look into them, the more they look back at you. So before we begin, ask yourself one question: are you ready to see the truth behind the demons, and the truth behind yourself? Let's uncover the 10 shocking mistakes in K-pop Demon Hunters that most fans never noticed, but once you hear them, they may stay with you longer than the show itself. Mistake 1: the confidence that isn't confidence. In so many scenes, characters walk with certainty, fight with certainty, plan with certainty. But psychology warns that when a person seems overly confident, it often masks buried fear. The louder the confidence, the deeper the insecurity. And this is exactly where the first mistake appears. Most fans believe the characters are fearless heroes. But their behavior actually shows signs of panic covered with bravado. In real life too, the people who force themselves to look strong are often the ones who are afraid of breaking. The Demon Hunters are no different. They aren't fearless. They're terrified. And the more they hide it, the more they slip into reckless decisions that expose their fragility. Watching them unknowingly reveal their fear is like watching humanity in slow motion, pretending to be brave so we don't have to admit how scared we truly are. Mistake 2: trust given too easily. Throughout the story, characters trust each other instantly, sometimes without any reason. Fans see it as unity, teamwork, family. But psychology calls it attachment hunger. When someone hasn't healed their inner wounds, they cling to people who give them even a hint of belonging. This mistake shows up again and again. Instead of evaluating danger, they jump into trust. Instead of questioning motives, they accept them. And this leads to betrayals, emotional confusion, and distorted loyalty. The truth is that most humans fear being alone so deeply that they'd rather trust the wrong person than trust themselves. The Demon Hunters show the same pattern, seeking comfort in others because they can't face the emptiness within. Mistake 3: running toward darkness instead of away from it. Most people assume the characters chase demons because of duty. But their behavior hints at something darker. They are drawn to chaos because chaos reflects their inner world. Psychologists call this familiarity trauma. People gravitate toward situations that feel like their childhood emotional environment, even if that environment was unhealthy. In K-pop Demon Hunters, the characters run into danger not because they want to save the world, but because danger feels like home. And when pain feels familiar, walking toward it feels safer than walking away. This mistake reveals the truth that many of us live with: we keep returning to the same emotional patterns because they are the only ones we recognize. Mistake 4: misreading silence. There are several moments where characters interpret silence as strength. But silence is complicated. Sometimes silence is power. Sometimes silence is wisdom. And sometimes silence is fear pretending to be discipline. Psychology says silence becomes dangerous when it turns into emotional suppression. And the Demon Hunters constantly suppress. They avoid speaking about their trauma. They avoid speaking about their doubts. They avoid speaking about what they truly feel. This mistake makes them emotionally volatile, unpredictable, and internally fragile. When silence becomes a shield, it becomes a prison. And the characters unknowingly lock themselves inside it. Mistake 5: the illusion of unity. Many fans praise the teamwork in the story. But look closely and you'll see the cracks. This is called false coherence. It happens when a group looks aligned on the outside but is emotionally divided on the inside. The characters rarely express true vulnerability with each other. They rarely challenge decisions openly. They rarely share fears honestly. Instead, they rely on assumptions, and assumptions are dangerous. This mistake shows the painful reality of many human relationships. We call it connection, but what we really have is synchronized loneliness. Mistake 6: Mistaking pain for purpose. Characters constantly push themselves past their limits, risking their lives and sanity. But why? Psychology has a term for this: self-punishment disguised as responsibility. When someone believes they must suffer to deserve worth, they choose the hardest path, even when it destroys them. Kpop Demon Hunters is filled with characters who confuse pain with meaning. They believe struggle proves their value. But suffering without healing only creates deeper wounds. Many fans celebrate their strength, not realizing they are watching emotional self-destruction wrapped in heroic music. Mistake 7: The shadow misinterpretation. Jungian psychology explains that everyone carries a shadow, the repressed side of the personality. In the story, demons frequently symbolize this shadow. But here's the mistake: the characters treat demons as external enemies instead of internal reflections. This leads to misjudged motives, misunderstood danger, and misplaced hatred. In real life, humans do the same. We project our hidden fears onto others. We label people dangerous, wrong, evil, without realizing we are looking at a distorted reflection of ourselves. The demon hunters fight shadows outside because they cannot face the shadows within. Mistake 8: Emotional contagion out of control. Whenever fear spreads through the group, everyone becomes reactive. No logic, no strategy, just panic disguised as urgency. This is emotional contagion, a psychological phenomenon where people unconsciously absorb each other's emotions. It is one of the fastest ways groups lose stability. In the story, one person's fear becomes everyone's fear. One person's doubt becomes everyone's doubt. And one person's rage becomes everyone's destruction. Fans think these moments are dramatic. But they are actually warnings. Humans think emotions are personal. They're not. They're viral. And the demon hunters prove just how contagious fear can be. Mistake 9: Identity confusion. Each character struggles to understand who they are: a protector, a weapon, a friend, a symbol, a performer, or something else entirely. They wear roles like costumes, hoping one of them will fit. But roles are temporary. Identity is deeper. And when a person mistakes their role for their identity, they shatter when the role collapses. This mistake becomes obvious whenever a character loses purpose, hesitates in battle, or collapses emotionally. They don't know who they are without the mission. And without the mission, they fear they are nothing. This is one of the deepest psychological wounds a person can carry, believing that their value depends on what they do, not who they are. Mistake 10: Avoiding the truth even when it screams. Perhaps the most chilling mistake is this: characters constantly avoid the truth that could save them. They avoid conversations that would heal them. They avoid decisions that would free them. They avoid clarity because clarity brings consequences. This is called truth avoidance, a powerful psychological defense mechanism. Humans do this every day. We avoid admitting we are unhappy. We avoid acknowledging red flags. We avoid confronting the thoughts that keep us awake at night. The demon hunters avoid truths for the same reason humans do, because the truth requires transformation. And transformation is terrifying. As we move through these mistakes, a darker realization emerges: the demons in the story may not be the villains. The real villains are the invisible forces inside the characters: the fear, the insecurity, the trauma, the projections, the identity confusion. And if we're honest, we all have those forces inside us too. This brings us to the climax, the psychological core of the entire breakdown. The moment where curiosity turns into confrontation. The moment where entertainment becomes a mirror. Ask yourself these burning questions. Why do you connect with characters who hide their emotions? What part of you recognizes that loneliness? Why do you admire their confidence? What insecurity inside you wants to look that strong? Why do you sympathize with their pain? What pain inside you is still unhealed? Why do you fear the demons in their world? What demons inside you are you still avoiding? Why do you love their unity? What disconnection in your life makes it comforting? Why do you see yourself in these characters, and pretend you don't? These questions are not about the show anymore. They are about you. Your shadow. Your fears. Your illusions. Your longing for belonging. Your struggle with identity. Your silence that hides your truth. Your tendency to run toward familiar pain. Your habit of confusing confidence with survival. The shocking mistakes in K-pop Demon Hunters are not simply writing choices. They are psychological patterns as old as humanity. And maybe that's why the show feels strangely relatable, because much of it plays out in the parts of the human mind we rarely explore. So the next time you watch K-pop Demon Hunters, don't just look at the animation, or the action, or the characters. Look at the psychology beneath them. Look at the mistakes as messages. Look at the demons as metaphors. The story becomes far more powerful when you stop watching it as fiction, and start listening to it as a reflection. And now, the only question left is the one you must answer alone. Are the demons on the screen really the ones haunting you? Or have you been fighting your own shadows this entire time?